I just got out of the clubhouse a few minutes ago, still drenched a little bit, can't really see out of my eyes after some champagne went flying. One thing that's going to be very different for the Packers players in this game is the elevation. This doesn't exactly look like Lambeau Field or Green Bay out here. Jordan Love is one of the few players on Green Bay's team who does have some experience in that arena. He played a couple of games at elevation in college. He says it definitely makes it harder to breathe. What is this like after all the hard work to get here in the season to win the division title? What does it mean to you?
Yeah, I mean, this
A weight has been lifted off the shoulders of the Golden Eagles. We could feel it tangibly in the locker room as Marquette, after a couple of close calls over the years, is going back to the Sweet 16 for the first time since 2013. Darius, it is a surreal scene here at American Family Field. As you can see behind me, the Mets are still finishing up their celebration from advancing to the next round. You can still sort of smell the cigar smoke in the air at American Family Field, but just 20 feet the other direction, inside the Brewers clubhouse, it is heartbreak and devastation. Erin Hills is one of the most beautiful golf courses in the country. And it turns out it makes a pretty good bribe, too.
Golf is the vehicle. Golf is what gets them in here.
That's former U.S. Army Airborne Infantryman Matt McDonnell, founder of Next 18, a nonprofit organization running 3.5-day golf camps for veterans and first responders.
Playing at Erin Hills is the draw, but getting them here, getting them in the seats, that's when we do the work.
The work refers to the rest of the camps, 4 to 6 hours a day of mental health training, ranging from yoga and breath work to journaling. The golf incentive worked for Watertown Police's Jake Wrights, who heard about Next 18 from a friend.
It was golf at some sort of premier destination with maybe some mental health, like that's the way I looked at it. I don't really have any PTSD, but I'll put in for it.
A few days later, Jake is singing a very different tune.
It's going to be something that I use for the rest of my life, and my view on mental health has changed.
Jake is hardly the exception. Matt has run 9 of these camps so far, with nearly 100 campers, and says they all follow a similar path. Day 1, campers are a bit reserved, but by the end, they're brothers and sisters.
We're all human, and we need to talk. I went through some pretty dark stuff a couple years ago, and I felt very alone. I didn't want to die, but I didn't want to live.
It's estimated there are about 17 U.S. veteran suicides a day. Matt thinks that number is actually much higher.
I've already had one of them call me with a gun in his mouth, and I was able to walk him out of that situation. So, if nothing else ever comes from this, I've done my job.
Can a program like this save lives?
Absolutely. I mean, there's people out there who have never opened up to anybody about some of the traumas they've experienced.
Logan Dietschy served in the Army from 2000 to 2004.
Just finding ways to kind of deal with it, to cope with it, to kind of know that you're not alone out there, that other people experience these same feelings, these same emotions, and are just immediately there for you is amazing.
Logan is leaving camp with a new group of brothers that he knows he can talk to anytime about anything.
The network that's kind of created out of it.
we're gonna do one more.
That might be that one phone call that person can make, before they decide to do something that they can't take back.
What do you hope they take away?
That they're not alone.
That's Matt's message. And as beautiful as Erin Hills is, that message is what sticks with the Next 18 campers. Scott Grodsky, CBS 58 Sports. The road to the Paris Olympics runs through an unassuming warehouse in the middle of Heartland.
We're not only one of the best clubs in Wisconsin, but also nationwide.
Hundreds train at Ataba Fencing Club each week. Ataba means the first step. Margarita Guzzi Vincenti has got to be on her millionth step by now. She started fencing when she was just 7. 25 years later, she is just 1 or 2 steps away from competing in the 2024 Olympics.
The possibility to represent our country is something that everybody dreams of, and it's a privilege to do that. It's just a big gift that comes at the end of a hard work.
Living in Wisconsin for the better part of a decade, Margarita spends roughly 5 hours each day working on her craft. Whether it's mental or physical, so much of her life has been dedicated to fencing.
It never gets old. What I like about fencing is it's a mental game. They call it the physical chess.
Her physical fitness is extremely good.
I've learned that I can do more than I could think I could do.
Her point, like where she actually compete, she focused in the target, no messiness.
When I set a goal to myself, I can achieve it.
She's really like excelling.
Ranked as one of the top fencers in the country, her path to the Olympics, representing the U.S., is clear. That wasn't always the case. Margherita is originally from Italy. After winning both an individual and team national championship at Penn State, she went to the White House to celebrate with her teammates and met President Barack Obama.
To be just a student in college and be able to go to the White House and be there with such a celebrity and being welcomed by him, it was just amazing, and I can only be thankful for that opportunity.
President Obama took an interest in Margherita, helping guide her through the steps to earn her green card.
I felt that this country gave me so much that I want to give back to this country, and now my life is here, and therefore I want to compete for the U.S.
Margherita was in the Tokyo Olympics in 2021 as an alternate. She's using that as fuel for Paris in 2024. Scott Grodsky, CBS 58 Sports. At the height of Vin Baker's NBA career, he was a four-time All-Star and Olympian with national commercials. Publicly, he was living the dream. Privately, it was a nightmare.
It was simple. If I had stayed on the path of addiction, I was going to die.
Vin is a recovering alcoholic. At its worst, he was drinking 1.5 gallons of Hennessy per day, sometimes drinking or smoking marijuana before games, until his addiction cost him his career and the $100 million that came with it.
Everything that I'd earned in basketball had gone away, so I had already experienced a spiritual death. The next thing was going to be physically. It was either change, turn my life around and get sober, or die. It was that simple.
14 years ago, Vin went into a detox facility for his 4th attempt at sobriety. He hasn't needed a 5th.
Once you overcome addiction, it's the most amazing life that you can possibly have. I feel like I overcame something more serious, tougher than going against Shaquille O'Neal and Tim Duncan. This is life.
After rebuilding relationships with his family and some time working at Starbucks, he earned his way back to a 2nd NBA career. Vin is now in his 7th season as an assistant coach with the Bucks. That alone is a great story, but it's not enough for Vin. The son of a preacher and a youth minister himself, his focus is on helping others.
I hope that I can save as many lives as possible. I hope as many people that know my story and are afflicted or suffering from addiction will come and get the help that they need to live life on life's terms.
That's why he helped bring Vin Baker Recovery to Milwaukee, an addiction treatment center that can benefit up to 1,000 people with substance abuse disorders and other mental health struggles.
That's why I put the building here. It wasn't to be more famous. I didn't open up a restaurant with my name on it. I opened up a building to help people get sober, that live the sober life that I've been blessed with.
It's Vin. It's Vin Baker. I mean, you can't get any better than that. The fact that he understands their conditions, and he wants to help, and he's adamant. He wants to get out into the community.
Paulita Payton Murphy is the executive director at Vin Baker Recovery.
Every staff member here has had, whether it's our own struggles or I've had family members that have had these same struggles, and so we definitely understand. I live in Milwaukee. And so anyone that walks in this door would be my neighbor. I want my neighbors to succeed.
The treatment center offers sessions with counselors, group work, as well as medicated assistant treatment and help organizing care.
Our doors are open for anyone who needs it.
Vin plans to be a hands-on part of the treatment center. Armed with a customized door for his 6'11" frame, he has his own office and checks in on patients and groups. So while the 8-figure paydays are gone, Vin has a new dream.
I've had the opportunity to win a championship here in Milwaukee, the first in 50 years, right? If one person comes here and gets sober, that's the most meaningful thing. It's more meaningful than winning a championship. You actually saved a life.
Now, Hometown Sports with Scott Grodsky.
The ink has dried and it is finally a done deal. Breaking in the last hour, the Milwaukee Bucks have officially hired Doc Rivers as their new head coach. Doc is already in town and was at tonight's game against the Cavaliers, as he's going to have to hit the ground running. Now, if anyone can do it, it's a coach like Rivers, who is about to tip off his 25th season running an NBA team. Doc will be formally introduced tomorrow, but for now, all we get is a statement where he called the Bucks a first-class organization with a talented roster of high-character players. Here's another Marquette grad, Jay Crowder, talking earlier in the day, before that news became official, about how they'll adjust to a new coach.
We got a veteran group, and I think whatever is thrown at us.
It was still Joe Prunty's show tonight. Defense is what the Bucks are wanting to be working on, but offensively, it's a pretty effective play right here. The alley-oop from Chris Middleton to Giannis. The Bucks had a ridiculous 4 Middleton to Giannis alley-oops in the first half alone. Never really seen anything quite like that. This one, at the end of the half, gave them a 3-point lead at the break. But let's fast forward now to the final few minutes. Jarrett Allen will put the game away for the Cavs. The Bucks just could not stop him. 22 points, 14 rebounds as they drop to 1-1 under Prunty, but the new era will likely start tomorrow. The 13th ranked Wisconsin Badgers trying to stay in sole possession of first place in the Big Ten. Nothing ever comes easy against Tom Izzo's Spartans, but Bucky has a chance to sweep them for the first time since '04. Nice finish from A.J. Storr puts them up by double digits in the second half. Then Max Klesmit goes to work. Look where that thing hits the backboard before dropping in for the hoop and the harm. Klesmit had the best highlight, but Storr had the best game. He finishes with 28 in a 15-point win. The Packers' defensive coordinator search officially underway, with Brandon Staley up first. Staley was fired as Chargers head coach towards the end of this season after a 24-24 run in 3 years. But as a DC, his resume is awfully impressive. Staley's Rams led the NFL in both points and yards allowed in 2020. Broncos defensive backs coach Christian Parker, Cowboys D-line coach Aiden Durd, and Bills linebackers coach Bobby Babich will also interview, but you can expect that list of names to keep growing over the next couple of days. Former Packers DC Joe Barry is already working on his next chapter. Barry reportedly has interviews set up with the Eagles as a linebackers coach and the Bears as their defensive coordinator. And the Admirals, still undefeated in January, looking for a 9th straight win. Joachim Kemmel with a beautiful shot off the faceoff. That gives them a 2-1 lead as Kemmel returns from injury, and Milwaukee kept firing away from there. They roll to a 5-2 win. Just in case you missed it, recapping some breaking sports news in the last hour, the Bucks have officially hired Doc Rivers as their new head coach, 18th in team history. We will hear from him tomorrow morning. That's a look at sports. We'll be right back.